If the devil called me and said he wanted to set up a meeting to give me opposition research on my opponent, I'd be on the first trolley to hell to get it. There is a cleansing needed in our FBI and Department of Justice. It needs to be cleansed of individuals who should not just be fired, but who need to be taken out in handcuffs. And you, Mr. Barr, are so deep in the swamp, you can't see beyond your fellow reptiles. And you are not the exceptional leader needed.
This is the only man that our enemies feared. Donald Trump is the only man that our enemies feared.
If devils and cleansing and reptiles are your thing, you're going to love the new acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Donald Trump announced yesterday that he is appointing her, that was Fox News host Jeanine Pirro, to lead one of the Justice Department's most important prosecutors' offices. That's after he pulled the nomination of Ed Martin. Pirro is now the 23rd Fox News alum to be chosen for a government job by the president, for which they have little qualification other than working for or appearing on the president's favorite network as staunch supporters of him. She joins the ranks of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Deputy Director of the FBI Dan Bongino, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and Border Czar Tom Homan, just to name a few. Angela and the Rev are back. Rev, what could go wrong?
What could go wrong? I knew Jeanine Pirro when she was the Westchester County District Attorney, and she was always to the right of center, but never this far. But since she's been at Fox, she's gone way over there. I think a more central question, rather than the personalities of any of them, is that are we now a nation that allows people that just have experience on Fox News to run the Defense Department, Justice Department? So now don't go to law school or don't do military service. Get a job at Fox, and you could be in the cabinet of the United States. This is outrageous. And all one has to do is think, if Barack Obama had done this, or even Joe Biden, there would be outrage. There absolutely has been just crickets from a lot of journalists that ought to be saying this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other place where there have been a lot of crickets is we now have politicized law enforcement, Angelo. And if you look at, take Donald Trump and America out of the story, and you look at any tracker toward autocracy, I mean, the fall of law enforcement is sort of the biggest domino that falls and ends up in the reporting around the world, right? If you're tracking a weak democracy around the world, when law enforcement falls, it's a big red flag. It's international news. It's the kind of stuff that intelligence agencies note the world over. When the pillar of law enforcement has fallen to the autocrat or the political leader, when it has become fully politicized. And so it's not just the lack of qualifications. It is the absence of any semblance of non-political law enforcement in America.
That's exactly right. I mean, that is the big unsettling part about all of this. This isn't just these sort of one-offs, or even these many individuals that he's put in place that are not, including these law enforcement positions that are obviously not qualified, or even worse. It's that it's sort of already, you can see how quickly it's become accepted that those edges have smoothed out. The prospect of it, even the notion of this 2 years ago would have been deeply unpalatable, let alone that it starts to be implemented and executed. I mean, this was one of the big things that last summer and into the fall that everybody, Democrats and the public, were up in arms about, the media, about even the prospect of weaponizing law enforcement. And here we are, just, a little more than 100 days into Trump's first 100 days, a little more than 100 days to Trump's second administration, and we're here already. Where it's like, oh, well, Jeanine Pirro, okay, that makes sense, and that's disturbing in a lot of ways, because then it's not just that they have these positions, then they act accordingly. Then they either act with deep incompetence, right, or total cronyism, or they actually do some of the things they promised they were going to do. I mean, here's a person that has repeatedly said that wearing the hijab is antithetical to the Constitution. that is suggesting it should be prosecuted for a crime. That was one of the biggest people calling for Jeff Sessions to resign as Attorney General. Why? Because he was not acting as Donald Trump's personal lawyer. That was her argument for why he shouldn't have been the Attorney General at the time. So I think to your point, it's not just that she has this role, it's then she starts to take these actions. It doesn't bode well for the pushback and the blowback to doing these things to further implement and execute this. And then to put a bow on it, and it's a through line through this conversation, we need people to connect the harms of what's happening to the actions and decisions that the administration are doing. And if business leaders and others are too afraid to step up to do it because they don't want to be susceptible to the capricious overreach and actions of the administration, and then you have somebody like Piero and others that go into these law enforcement positions and start using the levers of government accordingly. Others naturally, because that's the defect. That is always the posture. People naturally, when they're under attack, duck and cover. Heroes are heroes for a reason because they're rare. And you need them because it's contagious. And I think that, to me, is the ultimate takeaway, is that once she starts to act on this, I worry that less people will speak up and that it will become further, not just normalized, but calcified.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think, I have a pathological desire to always pull a bright spot out of your brilliant analysis. And I would say that at this point, the only heroes, not because they're pushing back against Trump, but because they're still articulating that which is legal and illegal, are the judges, including Trump-appointed judges. So right now, people in the street, people who don't approve of the deportation policies because they're so far outside of what Trump campaigned on, and the rare business leaders who are telling the truth about the tariffs, we're keeping a list, but those are the folks on